Now, few crimes can be more horrific for the victim than child abuse. People can often carry the psychological scars for the rest of their lives. It takes an enormous amount of courage to tell somebody else what happened, even more to go to the police.
But that's exactly what one woman from Cambridge has done, and now she's leading a campaign for abusers to be given tougher penalties. Our special report tonight is from our Home Affairs correspondent, Sally Chidzoy.
This woman's life has been so harrowing that she knows she will never fully recover. From when she was about 7 until she was 21, Jane was sexually abused by her stepfather. She had 4 children by him. The eldest is now 30. Jane's mother turned a blind eye to what was going on. But it wasn't until Jane was in her 30s that she found the strength to report him to the police.
I was just a prisoner. It wasn't a life, it was an existence. You just did as you were told, when you were told, and that was it. I had no friends, couldn't communicate with anyone, wasn't allowed out, wasn't allowed to socialise, in case I said something I shouldn't.
Her stepfather spent 18 months in jail. The court heard how he'd locked his daughter in the house, threatened her, told her what to wear, and timed her trips to the shops. She says she wants an urgent review of how the criminal justice system deals with cases of child abuse within families. She wants tougher sentences, and there are lawyers, among them Kathy Yates, who agree with her.
When it comes to sentencing, there is definitely a difference between what we call stranger abuse and abuse by someone within the family. And where abuse has happened within the family, sentences tend to be lighter. And I find it quite difficult to understand, and certainly our clients do.
Some lawyers believe there should be a careful examination of previous cases and that all such crimes should be treated in the same way. Many family abusers are let off with cautions. The Crown Prosecution Service can be reluctant to pursue cases. Jane's abuser is now free, but she says she has a life sentence.
You have flashbacks, you have nightmares. You suffer from depression, suicide. It totally destroys your life. It destroys you as a person.
But she says she won't let that happen to her. With help, she's rebuilding her life.
I'm not a dirty little secret anymore. And nobody else should be.
Counsellors who help survivors of abuse say a first step towards recovery is to tell someone what has happened, perhaps a GP or a close friend. Sally Chidzoy, BBC Look East.
And as Sally mentioned there, if you have been affected by childhood abuse and you wish to discuss it with someone, the best person to see to begin with is your GP.
Now, must try harder and top of the class. Today our secondary schools have been given their marks in the annual league tables. And Jana Gadgil has been going through the figures. What do they tell us?
Well, we've seen some remarkable results, Stuart, especially in Essex. In fact, I've made up a whiteboard so I can show you them. Essex has the best and the worst performing schools in the country. Top of the class for A-levels is Colchester Royal Grammar School. There's 2 other Essex schools in the top 20, King Edward VI Grammar School in Chelmsford and Chelmsford County High School for girls. So, big ticks for them. Essex schools excelled at GCSE level 2, with 3 schools again in the top 20, Colchester Royal Grammar, Colchester County High School for girls and King Edward VI. But the county also has the worst performer in the UK for GCSEs. At St Peter's Church of England and Specialist Arts College in Chelmsford, just 8% of pupils got grades A* to C in 5 subjects, including English and maths. Well, today, Gareth George has been looking at the best and the worst in Essex.
In the impressive library at Colchester Royal Grammar, Benjamin and Aisha are studying hard. Mind you, they must have time for little else.
I'm doing 5 A-levels. The subjects are economics, maths, Latin and classical Greek. I'm also doing an AS in further maths, and last year I did an AS in critical thinking.
I'm hoping to get 5 A's and then go on to study medicine at university. It is competitive, everyone wants to do their best, but it's also competing with yourself. You want to do the best that you can.
It's there, actually. I mean, just look in the passage that we were on, in fact, yeah?
And their peers in this A-level history class will have similar ambitions, and the atmosphere of aspiration has helped send Colchester Royal Grammar to the very top of the National League tables. But in his office, amidst the sparkling trophies, the headmaster admits that league tables are of limited value.
For some schools that haven't got an academically selective intake, it's not fair to compare those schools with academically selective schools. So I can understand why some people are frustrated by league tables.
And they were certainly frustrated here at St Peter's College in Chelmsford.
The head teacher here didn't want to be interviewed on camera, but he told me that he thought St Peter's College's position at the bottom of the tables was an unfair reflection of the school's challenging circumstances.
I asked locals what they made of the school's poor performance.
I wasn't happy with the school, and I certainly wouldn't. I've got a 4-year-old now, and I certainly wouldn't send her to that school. I'd make sure it was out of, you know, this area.
My son's been there and my daughter's still going until May, and yeah, they found it a good school.
I mean, I didn't think it was very good when I went there many years ago.
But one current pupil emailed Luquis saying she was disgusted the school had been unfairly branded the worst in the country. And tonight, teaching unions attacked the tables too, saying they didn't take account of less academic subjects. Gareth George, BBC Look East.
Well, elsewhere in the region, Cambridgeshire Local Education Authority was our best A-level performer nationally. It came 22nd. For GCSEs, Hertfordshire stands out. But Peterborough was 140th out of 150 LEAs. Could try harder, something I'm sure Susie and Stuart have never heard.
I wish. Now, if you've never seen one, let me tell you a little bit about the Fieldfare. It's a type of thrush. Sometimes they whistle and sometimes they make a kind of chack noise, and they come to this country in the winter searching for food.
This week, wildlife experts were astonished to see several thousand descend on an orchard in Suffolk, where the birds have made themselves very much at home. Here's our environment reporter, Richard Daniel.
They're on every tree, every bush. Thousands upon thousands of fieldfares, gorging themselves on rotten apples.
You know, I don't need these. They're everywhere.
It is wall-to-wall fieldfare. I've never seen anything like it.
When Mark Nowers from the RSPB arrived at this orchard at Newton Green near Sudbury, he was astonished.
It's not often that my colleagues say I'm speechless, and this was one of these moments. You would expect a good flock to be 200 to 500 birds in the winter, and we've got 200 to 500 birds in one tree, and every tree has got similar sort of numbers. We're talking 5,000 plus birds here. A record flock for Suffolk.
The Fieldfare is a winter visitor. They arrive here from Scandinavia, driven by the cold weather, in search of food. But the huge flock has also proved irresistible to predators. These feathers, a sign of a recent attack by a sparrowhawk.
Now take a look at this. One local person was heard to say, "At last, the council's been out gritting." But this isn't grit, it's Fieldfare droppings. And it's quite literally everywhere.
Andrew Weldon's father planted the first apple trees here in the 1930s. He hasn't seen fieldfares in such numbers for many years.
I would have said that back in the 60s and 70s, when we had really cold winters and snow and with enough ice on the reservoir for skating and things like this, we used to get this regularly. They started arriving just before Christmas, when we had the first lot of snow, and have been building up ever since.
Once the food's gone, the birds will be gone too. And given their number, that's likely to be quite soon. Richard Daniel, BBC Look East.
What we really want to hear is your version of their... Right, now we know, Julie. We were wondering what it sounded like, weren't we?
Oh, that was worth it. Oh, oh dearie me. Well, we start off with some pictures from Milton Keynes. This little fella was literally walking on water because Willen Lake was completely frozen over in places. Another very cold night last night and day today. And, of course, some of us seeing
bird impressions to weddings and bar mitzvahs go on tour, do you think?
I bet the phones are ringing already with bookings.
Good night.